Musically meditated. All right. Welcome to Musically Meditated Podcast. I'm your favorite podcaster's favorite podcaster, Joe Riley. I'm bringing that old one back. That was an old thing I had. The early episodes, that was always my introduction. So coming back with the oldies, this is a special episode to me. If you've been listening to Musically Meditated for the past year and a half, which probably you have, I would hope so. There's always a reference back to the King of Mope. I don't know. Does he have any other aliases? Do you remember?
I haven't looked that one up.
Okay, yeah, he has a ton, but it's about Stephen Morrissey, aka Morrissey. If you're unfamiliar with his work, go out and check it out. But he started with the Smiths. He was the front man for the Smiths. Then they broke up, and he went out on his own and did his own solo career. So that's what we're going to talk about. But back to Musically Meditated Podcast. Please subscribe and share to anyone and everyone, your friends, your family, your enemies. We're doing well. We're available on iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, all that jazz. So please hit subscribe and, rate, tell people, and just share it. And it's growing.
Any comments?
And comments. Yeah. Comments are important too. Comments.
Recommendations. Hey, what about this artist?
Yeah, that would be nice. More interaction.
Did you know there was some kind of, bluegrass in your town? Oh, no shit.
Right. Yeah, please. We need that. We need that help. And without any further ado here, I have Mr. Ed Deveney with me. How you doing, Ed?
All right.
And Ed, and Ed is going to help me discuss Morrissey. So what I'm going to do is we're going to discuss more of the positives about Morrissey and some of the unknown. Ed does a lot of research. You're very good at research.
I've been known at the Green Door Network that of doing research for your shows.
Mm-hmm. So you're going to
also kind of neutral factoids too, because a little heads up. Finding positive things about Morrissey, kind of hard.
So see, I was testing your research abilities because the Maz is very. That's what when you hear the word Maz, that's me as a total Morrissey fanboy referring to Morrissey. But the Maz is he's so passionate about certain things, he offends a lot of people, and not only that, he's very punk rock in his own way of standing his ground. We're going to discuss that.
Yeah.
And then, discuss why he's the man a lot of people love to hate and just how the PC police really can't control him either. He's just a really hard one to put a finger on. He's a hard one to, just keep up with because he's always moving forward and he's never looked back.
He kind of gives zero fucks.
Yeah, zero. Okay. Very, very, very little. Absolutely none. There's just no way to really control the monster. But what I'm going to do now is move into my personal experience with Morrissey, like how I grew to love the guy, as an artist and as a performer. And my first early memories of Morrissey had to have been like on XRT radio.
Okay.
Because my dad was always jamming that, and this was probably
classic rock,
okay. But in the late 80s too. And there was a big movement of college rock. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. That's when REM and B-52s and other... Yeah. Spin Doctors. Yeah.
Spin Doctors, REM.
Alice in Chains.
Alice in Chains. But, even Fugazi. There was a lot of these, it was kind of like the epicenter of indie rock or a little bit more low-key punk. Or
kind of weird, creative or wacky compared to normal rock. Mainstream, yeah,
and there really wasn't a lot of sponsorship behind it. It was just guys like
before all the festivals.
Before the festivals, so I remember that as a child. I remember XRT, and my dad, if he's listening, he's probably gonna give me shit about this, but I remember he went through this small REM phase, and it is what it is. But as I got older, I would make fun of him about it, hey, you gonna grab that old REM, tape and rock it, oh, kiss my ass, but. I remember he was going through this REM phase, and Morrissey would always come on. I don't remember exactly if it was the Smiths or if it was his solo stuff, but whenever a Maz song would come on, my dad's like, "I hate this guy. He's such a dick," he couldn't stand them. I don't know what it was. Like, I have an idea maybe what it is nowadays. Like, I think Morrissey and the Smiths are just way too British for some Americans to get. They're just super British. Almost too English for the English.
Yeah, well, when the thing is compared to British and American on singing, it seems like I've just noticed it too. British is more minimalism compared to both the show, the theatricality.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas an American, it's just like, look at this! I got flames! I got pyro!
Yeah, it's all kinds of bells and whistles, you know? And then when you look at a Smiths record cover, it's like very drab, kind of like the weather tonight. Rainy, cold, early April, you know, all the joints in your body just hurt for some reason. But going back to my dad, I remember that little phase. I remember him always making fun. And I remember I liked the way he sang. Like, I was like, cool. But I think there was also like a little bit of a rebel moment, you know, me rebelling against.
So it's also a little bit like, what's wrong with that? I kind of support it, and it kind of like pushed you more like,
Dad.
Fuck yeah, Morrissey.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, fast forwarding to like my teenage years, I don't really remember anybody rocking the Smiths or jamming the Moz. Like, I don't. Do you? Like at school?
No.
Like when you're a teenager? I mean, I do not.
I mean, Guns N' Roses and and stuff like that, but right. I don't remember.
Like Hobart was like
maybe Cure, maybe
the Cure, the Smiths, maybe, but not. I don't remember. But what changed it for me was, here we go, everybody. The Deftones. I mention them almost every episode, like I do Morrissey or the Smiths. But the Deftones had a cover, and they covered "Please, Please, Please Let Me Get What I Want."
Okay. And
back then, you would have to go to like CD trading posts. Remember on Route 30, you would have to go and look for the imports and shit like that. Like you could. That's the only way you could find it. This is before the internet.
Oh yeah, before eBay, before Napster, and they're like, "What's Napster? Shut up."
And there was a Deftones import that was like all their covers and rarities. It was called Anger. And this cover was
2 CD, 1 CD,
1 CD.
Okay.
So I was like, "Whoa, that's cool!" And that's when I started searching into, hey, what are my favorite band's influences?
Yeah. See, that's how, like, when you get into a genre like music or film or something, like, hey, I like this artist. What inspired this artist? Oh, okay.
Exactly. So I started digging deep into like Chino, because like the way he sang, you know, over heavy metal was a different approach. Like, yeah, he screamed, but Chino had this very vulnerable approach to his vocal delivery.
Okay.
And it caught my ear. So I'm like, well, I wonder where he got that. So you start doing your research, and this is before the internet as well, reading old interviews. And he's like, Chino was quoted to saying like Danzig was a huge influence. He'd always want to like sing Danzig songs, but his sister was into new wave, like The Cure, Duran, the Smiths, and Morrissey. And he's like, and I always liked Morrissey. So he's like, I wanted to emulate him and approach the microphone like him.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, cool. So then I started to research them a little bit more. And, you know, I got into it, but it really, I don't know. I didn't.
You put it on a shelf for some time later.
Put it on a shelf for some time later. Then fast forward, probably college.
Okay.
You know, college years for me, earlier 2000s. There's a disc replay. Remember disc replay? I'm sure it still exists, right?
I kind of like mentally banned myself from going there, because every time when I go to a disc replay, I always spend like buy 20 or 30 DVDs. I'm like, it's too cheap and good. So I'm like, I can't go in.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it was the one on 30 by the mall.
Okay.
And I used to have this job where I would leave on the clock, but it was okay.
Okay.
They'd like, hey, Joe, go get coffees and shit. Like, go get coffees, like, for the boss, or go do this or that. Okay, well, I'm going to stop in a disc replay, too, and see what kind of used
or imports or
CDs that they have. And when I went there, there was this guy. I don't know his name, but he was the manager or the owner. This is like mid 2000s or whatever.
Okay.
But he was always jamming the Smiths or Morrissey. Just religiously. Like, if it wasn't that, it would have been The Cure or Duran, you know, something new wavy from the 80s.
Okay.
But like, he just like was the picture perfect, like Cure, or not Cure, but Smiths or Morrissey fan. Like, not to put us all so much into like, hey, you know, like generalize us, like we all look like this, but just kind of like drab, maybe like I was a substitute teacher or something. Like, had khakis on, like never smiled, you know, like kind of
look downwards a lot.
Little down. Yeah, not a lot of eye contact. But anyway, like he wasn't the most friendly, but he would jam. I'm like, is this the Smiths? And he'd be like, yeah, it is. And then he would brighten up a little bit. He's like, hey, there are a lot of Morrissey, single stuff over there. This guy just brought it in. I'm like, okay. He's like, you should check A, B, and C out. Like, all right, dude, like he helped me out. And then I don't know what it was, but like there was always a shit ton of either Morrissey single stuff, like, when he was a solo artist, I should say.
Yeah, because he had 4 albums of Smiths?
The Smiths, I think technically, like, we'll just say all their shit, like, compilations and live albums.
Yeah.
8 or 9. Smiths fans don't kill me. It's a lot.
It's still, that's
but
still a lot.
Actual recordings, just EPs.
Yeah.
I think there's 5.
It's still a lot.
Still a lot because they were around.
To just find and walk into. You're like, oh, shit.
Yeah. So the one that I like that you brought that up, Ed, I bought he told me, like, get the first one. It's just called The Smiths. And I picked that up. And the girl I was dating at the time, like, she had some friends that were a little bit more indie, but kind of just sad kids, like sad boy music. Like, that's what the Smiths are. Like,
yeah.
And like my ex was like, yeah, like I like Morrissey. I'm like, really? She's like, yeah, blah, 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 likes it too. I'm like, okay. So like her friends too kind of like put me in the right direction. Like, hey, this is something new for me to check out, but I got this first Smiths record. They're like, okay. Yeah, like just kind of just being music nerds talking about it and really
learning your training wheels.
Yeah. Training wheels. Like, hey, this is this album. This is what this is about. Just like,
oh, you like this?
Just schooling me. Like, cool. Like you're finding like this whole new group of music nerds. And at the time, like I was just still really into aggressive rock, metal, death metal. So for me, this was like totally getting outside
what the shit, bro?
Yeah, bro, what are you listening to? This is like totally outside of my comfort zone. And I like, okay.
What is this, just hangover music?
Yeah, pretty much. This is just depressing hangover music. Yeah, it's like gloomy day stuff. Gloomy day jams. Right, Ed?
Yeah.
Okay. So they put me on, and I'll never forget this. Comcast also, like, this really got me into the Smiths even more and Morrissey, but Comcast had that section. It's probably still there. I don't have Comcast, but you could look under music and then the artists show up, and they used to just have like the music videos. You remember that?
Yeah. They sometimes still do. Yeah. Continue.
And all of a sudden, like, oh, here's this. And we would just hang out a lot, like relationship, like before Netflix, like, let's just look through the music section, baby.
Yeah.
And we would go through, and then the Smiths were on there, and it said Rock Palast. And I was like, what is that? It said the Smiths Live Rock Palast. So we put it on, and I was.
You mean Rock Palace, or it's called Palace?
I don't know. And am I not saying it right?
That seems like some broken English.
That's me butchering the German language. I did fail it in middle school, but at any rate. But yeah, we put that on, and it was the Smiths Live in 1984. That's the same time their self-titled debut came out.
Okay,
and maybe it was 83 or whatever. Don't kill me, Morrissey nerds, but I was just blown away, and her and I were just like, what is going on? Morrissey has is it pansies, like the type of flower? I think that's what he would put in his back pocket, but just a bouquet of flowers in his back pocket. He's got like a see-through weird unbuttoned shirt on, like buttoned down,
mesh,
like a mesh, but like silky sequence. I don't know, but just like blousy. And he's just like frolicking around, like on stage. And then you got Johnny Marr over there with like the best haircut in the world. And then you got, Mike Joyce on the drums, kind of looked like a jockey dude. And then you had Andy Rourke just wailing away at the bass. I was just like, what is this? Like, okay, I have the record, I'm listening, but I never actually got to see them.
Okay, so before this, you never knew what they looked like other than Morrissey?
Yeah, I mean, like,
you just seen the still images.
The still images, but never in action. And this is, you could maybe help me out. Was YouTube around? This is probably 04, 03, 04.
I think 2006 or 2007, maybe.
Is when YouTube was available, like on anything and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
then still people were just like doing really vlogging and just simple stuff.
Yeah, simple stuff, because you'd have to buy these kind of tapes back then, like old bootlegs or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I had never got to see them on any kind of live recording. Like,
Okay.
and I was just blown away, like back to almost like discussing like their British, like how English they were and how foreign that was to me. But then the visual art, just how artistic it was, and just, I don't know, like one step off or something. Just,
something
different.
seemed off kilter, but that off kilter, you're like, man, I'm fucking just totally enthralled.
Yeah, and just intrigued, just totally intrigued, and I was just blown away. And then I would laugh a lot too. Like, this dude is just so over the top.
Yeah,
Morrissey, that is.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think he's over the top a little bit?
I mean, I was reading stuff because my opinion is I've heard 3 Morrissey albums, so a lot of it by research. So it's just like, you don't know. So I'm trying to do the best. I mean, it does come off as he's sly, or he's a lyrical dandy.
Yes, he is. Yeah, he's a dandy.
Because the thing is, he does like Oscar Wilde, and Oscar Wilde was like a dandy too, but he's more of like a lyrical, where it's just like,
yeah, it just keeps you intrigued. So I was blown away by that. I used to watch that a lot. So to all of you listening, if you really want a good Smiths first experience, go back to that. And I know I'm butchering it, but it's Rock Palast.
Okay,
is that better?
Okay.
but it's the Smiths live in Germany. Type that in your YouTube. Check it out. It's one of a kind performance, and it's the Smiths right when they started, and it blew me away, and it captured my attention, And I remember around this time too, rest in power to my friend Mike Paris, I went and visited him in Arizona, and we went to White Sox spring training, and they had just moved from they would always practice where Arizona State is University, and then they moved to where Arizona University is. I don't know if that's Santa Fe to Mesa or whatever. Don't quote me on that.
Okay.
But it was a long road trip because he lived in Phoenix. So he's like, yeah, now we got to go to Arizona University to watch the White Sox practice. I was like, okay, whatever. And I remember he always liked the song, Please, Please, Please Let Me Get What I Want. We actually played it at his funeral. We had like a list composed or whatever. So this shit's serious to me. It really is.
Yeah.
And it brings back cool memories. But I remember, I was like, yeah, remember the Smiths? Remember Please, Please, Please? He's like, yeah. So that road trip, I played that first Smiths record for him. We had it, I think it was the iPod days. So I had a ton of their music. But I'm like, yeah, check this out. And it was a long ride. And I just remember us just having like a really good time, just laughing at a lot of the lyrics, and like you said, like there's a humor, there's kind of a sarcastic vibe to it too. And just like his vocal delivery on that first Smiths record is pretty strange, like he's experimenting with a lot of different sounds, but it just brings me back to that time, like remembering that video, right? Like on Comcast, and then it was like the mid 2000s. So it takes me back, and I just remember like heavily getting into him then. So that's a little bit. Now fast forward to like the hipstery, like the hipster, I guess it's like the hipster reinvention of the Smiths or Morrissey. Like there's a culture that's there. Like I think Smiths fans and Morrissey fans are so strong and passionate about him. Like he and or the Smiths like infiltrated the artsy fartsy section of social media. And a lot of that's through Instagram. This is just the way I'm interpreting it.
And what you've seen.
And what I've seen, and it got my attention again.
Because you're like, oh no, shit, they're coming back.
Yeah, like they're not coming back, but just
but the thing is, they'll have like maybe a joke or a meme, and you're like, hey, I know that man.
Yeah, I
know that lyric.
Right, like this is great. So then I started getting, not that I got out of it, but getting into it more.
Like you just was in a couple albums, and you're like, okay, let's try more albums. Like, I did not know we had this.
Exactly. You start even exploring more.
Yeah.
Because of social media.
Yeah, because it's, yeah.
Yeah, and I was just like, okay, and like, you had the blog culture and stuff like Tumblr, and there was just a lot of these Instagram pages and shit like that were
fan websites,
but
GeoCities.
GeoCities. Yes, just like totally targeting that fan. And I was like, damn, like they have a very rich culture of fandom. Like people take this shit serious. And then that's when I started nerding out and really diving into the lyrical content, you know?
Oh, so before the internet culture, you said like, I like the concert performance. I like the tone of voice. I like the sounds, but you didn't really
embrace it.
You didn't really dive into the lyrics that much. Okay.
I was kind of like a casual fan passing by.
Yeah,
like
that's what
accepting it, but like I said, they were so damn British. You know, it's kind of like British humor. It's like you like what's his name, Mr. Bean?
Yeah, Mr. Bean. Yeah,
it's like you like him. You know, it's quirky, it's weird, but sometimes it's just too damn British. So it's like what you're foreign of, like what you're foreign to, and especially that young, like I didn't know how to really accept it fully.
Yeah, because the thing is and then as the older you get, the more it's like, oh, okay, I know these things.
Yeah, I've been through some of this
Okay, I can go deep in the waters.
Yeah.
But when you're young, you're like, hey,
you know, you got this...
I don't know this terrain. But as you're getting older, it's like, oh, no shit. This just has algae?
Yeah.
Shit.
I got this.
Yeah.
I got this. Like, when you see a dude just frolicking around with his shirt unbuttoned and just being really flamboyant, you know, it kind of makes you, or it made me, I should say, like, I'm a metalhead. This is uncomfortable. You know?
Wait.
How flamboyant.
Okay, tangent.
Yeah.
But what about Judas Priest, though?
True.
Okay, go back. Because you're like, I don't know.
Yeah, but leather and whips, you know, like
and studs.
Studs. That's pretty metal.
Metal and flesh studs.
Yeah. But like half naked men on your album covers with their butt exposed, and you know, like the first Smiths record is, I don't know the name of the actor or whatever, but that's a still from like one of the first homoerotic porns ever, or a documentary. Like,
it could be maybe a Kenneth Anger thing.
Yeah, like, so there was always like this hidden
homoerotic.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like with some of their imagery, and
so then, but in the beginning it was just like, oh, whatever, and then as it later it's like, wait. Why is there a male tuchus uncovered? What the shit?
Right. Like,
wait, is that like? Oh, that's male leg, son of a bitch.
Right. Like, I've seen a lot of butts in the shower, but you know, that sounded weird.
It's like, could I see some like top cleavage? Can I get some some more balance?
It's funny you said top cleavage. There's a I'll get back to the subject here, but there's a Morrissey interview with what's his name? The old dude that everybody likes. I'm drawing a blank. Larry King. Okay, so it was recent.
With the suspenders.
Yeah. Everybody watched it. It came out like not too long ago.
Okay.
So he's like, Larry King's like, Morrissey, I heard you had a problem with the TSA, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yes, I did. He's like, well, what happened? He's like, they put their hands down my rear cleavage. He referred to his ass crack as rear cleavage. I love Morrissey.
See, that's why the thing is like the whole lyrical of the words. And I'm like, oh, my butt crack. It's like, no, my rear cleavage.
My rear cleavage. Just so British and proper. But back to what I was saying with the hipster culture and
the internet.
The internet, like it opened up a whole nother door for me to
dive further.
But then I went through the double D's of life in my 30s. Here's a little buzzkill, death and divorce, the double D's. And that's really like when I had a lot of time to like reflect and try to get my mind together and move forward and not be so stricken on like, losing my best friend or, going through a divorce. I don't want to get way too off on the buzzkill, but and it's kind of cliche too, like talking about Morrissey or the Smiths.
But it's like an emotional pillow.
Yeah,
Sorry.
It is.
Because the thing is, I'm listening to it, I can see it's comforting because it's just like, I could say, like how you sing, it's like he's singing the anguish.
Lots of anguish. Ton of anguish.
It's kind of like when you watch an old actor talk in a movie, you're like, he has gravitas to his voice. It's like he seems like he lived through it. Whereas Morrissey is just like, I feel his pain.
I feel your pain.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, continue.
So I really was able to dive deeper, and that's when you start researching the lyrics.
You hug that emotional pillow.
I hug that.
AK the speaker.
Morrissey, come here. Well, yeah. So I did that, and I had a bunch of the records, bought a bunch of his albums, and I just had a lot of time to just kind of like sit back and just, think about shit and put it on.
Interpersonal?
Okay. Interpersonal relationship. And since then, I've just been a huge fan.
I mean, I could see how it's very, it's almost like a child thing to you. When I say a child, I not mean a negative thing where it has so much meaning. Because, like, things that happen when you're a child sometimes has a lot of meaning, whereas in this, it's like, it helped me get by important things in my life.
Yeah, in dark times, too.
Yeah.
And that's what's cool about the Smiths or Morrissey. He is a pop artist. But and some of the songs are jangly, especially with the Smiths. But
you got to break down what jangly is. I like that term.
Like jangly? Like a flangy guitar or kind of like a, I don't know.
Because I noticed like in some of the Morrissey, it has like some of the, like the background beat is like, is this like country? Like it has like a little experimental, like he'll always sing the same, but it always seems like he does experiment. Like I almost would like, hey, am I gonna get a banjo? Like
anything's possible. Yeah. But I guess going back to more of the Smiths, them as a band, as a collective.
Okay.
Jangly and Johnny Marr's guitar.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I want to focus still more on Morrissey here, but he's amazing. Johnny Marr's an amazing guitarist. He just put out a record this year. Everybody check it out. I love him. He's great. He's got his own Fender model designed the way he wanted to, so that says a lot. But there's like a jangly, weird, complex, unorthodox approach to the way he approaches a guitar. And him and Morrissey just had that magical bond, like a Robert.
It meshed really well.
Meshed well, like a Keith Richards, and you know what I'm saying. Like you got the Stones or Zeppelin, like Page and Plant, but there's Morrissey and Marr, like they both.
Or you could just say old school, like with film, like Martin Scorsese and De Niro. Like where it's this good companion where they work well together and they bring out.
Here's my tunes.
Yeah.
Here's what I got. So sing for me.
Yeah. What do you think of this?
What do you think?
Yeah.
And Johnny Marr was writing hits, pop hits, but Morrissey, being the sad boy that he is, he was.
I got some words to say.
I got some words to say. I got some jangly. I got something for your jangly stuff. I'm gonna make it sound upbeat, but I'm gonna sing about me and my lover getting hit by a bus. Like he's just crazy like that. So I just really just embraced it at the time.
Okay.
And that's all. And I've been in love with it since. So make fun of me all you want.
Is that like one of your like major like sacred things where it's just like, yeah, he is an ass, but it's just to say like it has no artistry. It's like, fuck your dumb ass.
Yeah.
Like you'll fucking like stand ground or like
I'll stand ground a little bit, but I know that he's not for everyone.
Yeah. I mean, but the thing is, one thing is also is because if you want to, because like if you're more poetry, if you like poetry of like lyrics and that, not that much hooks, but lyricism, then it's just like, okay.
Oh, he's a beast.
Yeah.
It's undeniable. Like you could hate for what he stands for. You could hate the shit that he says.
Yeah.
But if you are into poetry and lyricism, he's so witty and so clever.
Yeah, it's like, you cheeky bastard.
Yeah, he's so cheeky, man. He is, but he copies the style from Oscar Wilde. Like he really does.
Oh yeah, he loved that.
The whole thing, like I mentioned before, with him putting flowers in his back pocket. Oscar Wilde was known to be obsessed with I forget which flower it was off the top of my head, but I guess that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But he would flood his entire, living room with it.
Okay.
I don't know I think it was lilies. It was lilies.
Okay.
So he was obsessed with that. So Morrissey would study certain things from Oscar Wilde. I think even like his sexual mystique, Morrissey has always had this, I'm celibate, nobody knows. So that leaves you, the listener, like you can interpret it any way you want to. Like it kind of breaks the guidelines of like, who cares what sexual preference anybody is?
Oh, maybe I could throw in like one of the, so as I was reading, I didn't want to interrupt, but what you were saying about like his kind of not androgyny, but quote unquote the sexuality. Someone said this. Let's see. It was called MTV.com. It's called Artful Dodger, The Complicated Genius of Morrissey. That was the website.
Okay.
And it said this. From Bowie to Beyonce, the first finest pop stars have always found a way to balance confession and evasion, inviting fans to identify with their personal sagas while maintaining enough mystique to keep us wondering. And leaving room for reinvention. But the thing with him was that he didn't just balance it, he combined the two.
Yeah, genius.
And then what does he mean is like he would be transparent but cryptic, but then he would be sex mad, but then sexless at the same time.
Yeah, it's just always this yin and yang, and that you're never actually like comfortable. You know, like you're always on the edge of your seat.
Yeah.
And he blends that together well. He's a genius at it.
Yeah.
I mean, rewind what we've already talked about the last half hour. I mean, I just kind of said all of that.
Yeah.
In a way, like, hey, he made, he got my attention during some bad times, and it was relatable and so on. But yeah, with the sexual mystique of him and a lot of his songs being heartbreak or love loss, it's it's a really cool angle, and it's genius.
Yeah.
But Ed, let's do that. Let's move on to, your turn, so to speak, your bulk and body of the content and some of the stuff that you found that was kind of like, oh, cool, head scratcher shit.
Okay, so for a transition, so from the NME website, it was 8 pretty uplifting songs. This is what they mentioned of Morrissey. There is a light that goes out.
It's a great song. That's the one where, he was talking about him and his lover being hit by a double-decker bus.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, but the shining of our love of our life will never go out, even if we're ran over.
Sheila, Take a Bow.
Sheila, Take a Bow. That's a jam, yeah.
Ask.
That's it's another jam. I'm just going to give it jam approval.
Vicor in a Tutu.
Yeah, that's a Smith's jam. Yeah, that's okay.
Cemetery Gates.
Cemetery Gates is a great song. I know there's a small indie film about Morrissey.
Yeah, I think it came out like a couple of years ago or something.
Yeah, and he's from Manchester, England. Manchester, England's very comparable to where we're from here in the regional area, with the steel mills and the manufacturing. But Cemetery Gates comes from him and his girlfriend, or this girl he was hanging out with all the time. They would hang out in a cemetery, total Morrissey style, and they would recite Oscar Wilde poetry to one another. So that song is about them two playing in a cemetery. Wah, wah. Go ahead, Ed.
Okay. I know it's going to happen someday.
Okay.
Do your best and don't worry.
I try every day. Thank you, Ed.
And the song Sing Your Life.
Sing Your Life. All right. That's cool.
Those was because I was like, oh, okay.
All right.
They said whereas he's probably one of the first to say he's a vegetarian and also be in the lyrics that profoundly in a pop artist.
Yeah, the Meat is Murder album that came out in 84, 85. Don't quote me. Don't kill me, Morrissey Smith fans. But to take a stand like that as a pop artist with, the power that he had, he was way ahead of his time. Not to say that there weren't vegetarians back in the mid 80s, but to be a pop star.
But the thing is, like, he wore it as a badge and proud of it.
I mean, he called his album that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge. And not only that, like he, attacked Margaret Thatcher on a regular basis. And he was the first one to say that I don't know if it's the prince, but what's the word?
Royalty?
The royalty, the royal family were despicable because they would always hunt. I don't know if it was
the fox hunt thing. Yeah, okay.
So they would do that and they would air it on TV there. And Morrissey,
I thought that's just old English classics. They still do that shit. Wow.
I don't know if they still are, but back in the mid '80s, and he would say some really, really mean things because he's such an animal lover. But with the song "Meat is Murder" and his whole vegetarian angle, or that part of his life, it has made me, and I'm sure it has made a lot of his other fans think twice. Like, I give up meat usually once a year. I've given up meat for like 6 months at one time.
Okay.
But it makes you think about, why senseless killing of an animal?
Yeah.
Just for human consumption. I'm not going to try to get preachy about this shit right here, right now, but it just makes you think, like, do you really need to eat meat all the time?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it made me think. That's all.
Yeah.
Like, and there's times that I've given up meat for my own personal beliefs or whatever, and that's not the time and place to talk about that right here, right now. But he was the guy that...
That's what they said is, like, one of his positives was he was a major influence, kind of like a role model to be like, hey, look, I don't eat meat. Like, even though we already talking about it, but that's a major thing because a lot of people had, rock stars doing drugs, adultery. It's just like, hey, I don't eat meat.
Hey, he was never Rourke, the bass player for the Smiths.
Mm-hmm.
He got into heroin, and it's really what kind of broke the Smiths up, in my opinion.
Okay.
I think there was a collaborative problem, and they were getting big, like between Morrissey and Marr. But Andy, the bass player, he got into dope, like straight up, like heroin. And Morrissey was so against drugs. They found out, like it finally got to him, and they kicked him out, and they replaced him, and then they brought him back in. But it had a lot to do with
replaced him being
the bass player.
Okay.
And they brought a new guy in, and then he got his shit together, and they brought Andy back in. But it just never sat well with the Maz. Like, hey man, I said in the beginning, this is a no drug thing. I think they drank maybe a little bit.
Wait, so you're saying after he abstained from drugs, it's like Maz still like, I still don't fully respect you because you fucking did.
Yeah, right. You crossed him once, but no, he
you fucked up my tour, man.
Yeah, he messed it up. He doesn't stand for that. But another thing too with him, they went back, like the Smiths went to court over a lot of copyright, and they blew up. Like the Smiths have had like many waves of being important again. And Rourke, Andy Rourke, I believe is his name, he took the buyout. Like they all went back to court, and the drummer Mike Joyce like was saying like, hey, I wrote some of these songs too. And Morrissey and Marr were like, no, you didn't. And then poor Andy Rourke was there. He's a great bass player, but he settled. He took the buyout. And it's like, there's an interview or there's some like a Smiths documentary on YouTube, and like he's just like a struggling artist now. Like he's just drinking wine and on the interview, like just with a bad haircut, like I hope he's okay now. I mean, at least he's not doing heroin anymore.
Yeah.
But, Morrissey and Johnny Marr are millionaires. But besides that, what else you got, Ed? What else you got?
Let's see. He's proud of doing how he done it. I mean, there's a pride, because the thing is, when as a child, he always didn't want to be just a normal person.
Right.
That's one of the things why he kind of emphasized a focus on, I think, James Dean, Oscar Wilde, and other people's. Like, he liked the whole atmosphere of, like...
the unknown?
Yeah. Oh, just like the quirkiness.
Yeah, he's total quirk. That's a good point. Yeah, he's... back to, like, the album covers of the Smiths. Like, he single-handedly made those and gave them to Rough Trade Records. Like, this is what I want. Here's the colors. Here's the obscure B actress or actor.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, like he painted a kind of a more of a British blah, like
minimalism.
Minimalism. Thank you.
Because blah sounds
shitty.
I'm lazy. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad.
You're right. But minimalism. Yeah, just
I'm lazy. Yeah.
But just random album cover art, but it's great.
But kind of, dare I say, DIY. So so that could then in maybe be called, like, dare I say, punk.
Yeah. They're definitely post-punk.
Okay.
I mean, you have Joy Division. There's always been this beef or this like this somewhat beef, like Manchester band-wise, like Joy Division or the Smiths, post-punk or whatever. Like the Smiths kind of were post-punky on that first record I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
But then they went their own route.
They found their own voice instead of like experimenting more.
Yeah, they experimented more, but they got totally away from punk. And Johnny Marr kind of focused more on, I don't know. I'll just use a vanilla term of indie rock, but there's that jangle and like taking elements from. I don't even know how to describe his guitar playing. It's a hard one. Maybe somebody could help me.
Okay.
But yeah, man. What else do you got on the list there? That was good.
So this is kind of a quirky thing. He says he considers his black moods as like the moodiness a sign of intelligence. Like it's like, oh, okay. I don't know. I like some of the quirkiness he has.
That's like really egotistical. Like, I'm being a dick today because I'm smarter than you.
Oh no, I'm proud of it.
And I'm proud of it.
Oh, you're happy? That means you're fucking. Sorry, my bad. You're stupid. You're stupid.
See, that's the thing too. His ego is just ridiculous and his reasoning for things.
Yeah. But then he says this: performing is the only thing in his life that he feels right about himself, and he admits otherwise. I don't have any function at all as a human. I'm not sure if I even exist off stage.
Damn, Morrissey, it's pretty.
And then that's where it just kind of comes off as just like, oh, and then I should have said this beforehand. There have been statements saying like, yeah, I'm probably going to quit performing when I'm 55, but
I have seen him live twice.
Yeah.
In his 50s, after 55,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it was twice since 2016 or whatever. So, yeah. And he's amazing live.
But the thing is, I'm assuming in his performance, he doesn't move that much.
He only moves like Morrissey knows to move.
Like basically in a box. Like
it's pretty over the top, actually. Like he's
like sensual and touching himself.
Yeah, a little touching. And he took his shirt off. Shout out to my friend Doug. We were just talking about this because Maz is coming back in September.
Okay.
At Ravinia in Chicago. So we should go. You'll bring your little picnic table, Ed, and we'll drink wine and eat hors d'oeuvres and exotic cheeses with other white people.
Have you ever heard of any of your, like the bands that you get into at Ravinia because of the whole outdoor?
No,
how is that?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think T.I.'s there if you want to go see T.I.
Ooh.
But no. But back to Morrissey live and the way he acts on stage is just Morrissey-ish. There's only one guy that moves like the Maz on stage. You just got to go there and witness it yourself. He did have like funny things in the back. He had, it's one of his album covers. He's like standing there and he's holding a baby, but it's but it had Trump's face on it.
Okay, then it has this one where he's like holding a baby, but then he's got like a gold chain on, and then the open shirt with like chest hair. I'm like,
pretty awesome. But it's that same one, but they photoshopped Trump's like stupid face like on the baby. But I did get to see him. What else you got, Ed?
This is what I was going to tell you. Like, no, don't say it yet. This is a quirkiness that if there's a website you could actually type in his handwriting.
Are you serious?
Yeah, like if you go to
amazing.
Yeah, because supposedly he has like quirky handwriting or something.
I have seen his autograph.
Yeah,
and it's weird.
Yeah, and I guess if you look for like Morrissey and look up Morrissey in typeface, you can actually download, and it's a free font supposedly of like his style of writing, so you can like write that.
I need that.
Okay,
cool.
I gave you something new. Awesome, because I'm like, oh crap, he's gonna smoke me.
Right.
Okay.
I need some Morrissey font in my life for sure.
Okay, and this is a quirky thing. So I forgot where I found this from. Oh, okay, but this is from Morrissey-solo.com.
Okay.
So it's maybe a fan, but maybe it's like myth that they wanted. It's a quirky myth. It's not a dangerous myth. Is that during
dangerous myth?
Yeah, like throwing TVs out of a hotel or something like Motley Crue. Is that supposedly during a Smiths tour, Maz for his rider, and that's the things that you want at the venue.
What did he want?
I want a maximum of 5 foot, at least 3 foot live tree in the venue.
That's weird.
Yes!
That's so random. Back to seeing him live.
Yeah.
Not to digress so much, but
did you see a tree?
I did not see a tree.
Okay.
But at Riot Fest in Chicago, he said he would only perform if they did not serve meat.
That's what I was thinking, because the thing is, a lot of culture is meat, and then I could see that him just like,
no.
Because talking about meat, I guess he was going to go on a talk show. And then right when he found out the other guest was going to be one of the dudes from Duck Dynasty, he's just like, yeah, I'm out. I'm not even going.
Won't even entertain it.
Yeah.
You gotta respect it. I know it could be cunty. Like it could be mean in a weird.
But the thing is, I like it because he sticks to his guns, and it doesn't take the Pepsi money.
He does not.
No Pepsi money for him.
None. He will throw the Pepsi money in your face. But back to that Riot Fest thing really quick. It took him forever to come on stage. He was showing a bunch of New York Dolls footage.
Yeah, he loves them, the New York Dolls.
And like just random shit. And everybody's getting, like, everyone was getting tense. Like, where's he at? Where's he at? And I was getting mad. My friend Doug, he actually left. He bailed and went and watched Nas instead because Nas was on the other stage. I'm like, I'm staying for Morrissey. I love Nas.
Yeah, because the thing is, and also the thing is just like, Morrissey's getting long in the tooth.
Yeah, right.
Whereas Nas still has some years.
Still has some years, right. Yeah, Morrissey's got a couple extra gray hairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to wait here. But he did finally come out. But I was told that he went in disguise on a golf cart and went behind all the vendors to make sure they were not serving meat while he was about to perform.
Now,
Fest. That's pretty crazy.
Now, if he says meat, does that mean like I don't even eggs? No eggs. F that.
He is vegan now.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm sure if
Nick, would he crap on eggs?
Well, vegans don't eat eggs.
Yeah,
so
that's what I meant. Okay, that's when it's just like.
Is that where you draw the line?
No, because like, come on, it's not fertilized, dude. Can't we just eat it?
Like, don't touch my eggs, all right?
Yeah.
Like, everything's okay, but.
And also, I love me some cheese.
I know, me too.
Okay,
I'm not vegan, bro. Maybe one day.
Okay, what's another thing?
What other kind of quirks? Got some goofy stuff here.
And then, okay, I think I've mentioned this before, but about the whole being like a sex god, but then sexless at the same time. He was one of the pioneers of, they call it introvert rock, where it was not feminine but not macho, and they said that was like he was one of the originators of that, because before that it was just like, oh, I'm gonna go, draggy.
Yeah. Super drag, or
super butch.
Super butch, or
Whereas
super bro, even.
Yeah.
Too, right? Yeah. He was able to blend it all.
Yeah.
He was able to blend it all. And what's really weird, everybody should go back and watch like early Smith's fandom. Like they have fandom videos, like everybody losing their shit for him, and fans jumping up on stage just to hug him or to get an article.
Oh, yeah. I have a story about that. Continue.
All right, but fans just want to get up there and touch them. And what's so weird, like if you think about it, is a lot of it is like this heterosexual, like male, like dudes that are into him.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
that's
like
where
a weird, like, and I'm that guy. Put me in that box, like.
Yeah, because I think the thing is just like, you spoke to my soul, bro. Yeah, oh my god, I don't have to say it because you were saying it.
Give me a hug.
Give me that hug.
Right? Is that what it is? It's like for like a macho type, like, oh, she broke my heart, I hate her, but.
Yeah, but the thing is, with his details and wit, then you're like, oh, that's so good.
That's good. I get it, man.
Yeah.
What do you got?
So, okay, so it says this is from Odyssey Online of why Morrissey fans unlike any other music fans. This was one of the paragraphs. Another thing that was distinctive when it came to Morrissey fans was that they wrote so many letters and tried to give him so many gifts before, during, and after his shows now. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So what they did was just, we're just going to have boxes, so it just says to Morrissey. We're just going to give.
They just stacked them outside, didn't
Yeah. And one of the things because of that is what's also unique about Morrissey, and more importantly, was that he welcomed the stage invasions, and he hugged the fans back and shook their hands as they tried to kiss and hug him.
Yeah.
Like, instead of just like, get away!
Get away from me. Get away. No, he embraced it.
Yeah.
He's really good to his
And that's
fans,
where
man.
it kind of comes off as just like the whole bonding. It's like, oh, bro!
Just the ultimate bro moments.
You
ever.
warm me up inside, so I needed that.
I needed that hug.
Oh, I needed that warmth in my heart. Thank you, sir. You relate to me so much. Yeah.
Uh-oh. Sirens. But what else you got, Ed? I know you got something else.
Oh yeah. Okay. He has really good quotes. What was another quote? He had something about. Wait, what was it about age? Yeah, this is one about age.
All right. Morrissey quote on age. Go ahead, Ed.
Age shouldn't affect you. You're either marvelous or you're boring, regardless of your age.
It's true. That's my next pickup line, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. Good stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, okay. This is kind of like for me because I haven't really gotten in a serious relationship. But then it sounds kind of depressing, but I like the quirkiness and the bluntness. It's like, I do think it's possible to go through life and never fall in love or find someone who loves you. I know it sounds depressing, but it's just like, Well, you know, it might not be a storybook. Like,
right. It's just let you know you might be alone forever and you might die by yourself.
Here's some musical hugs. Thank you, Morrissey. Thank you.
Yeah, right.
I'll put the speakers near my cheeks so then you can just keep on pinching them with your lovely voice.
But just in case if you didn't know, you might not ever fall in love and you might die alone. Thanks, Morrissey. Right. He's just letting you know. He's not going to paint you that pretty picture.
Yeah.
All right.
And then going back to his humility on his legacy. When they bury me in a church and chuck earth on my grave, I'd like the words, well, at least he tried engraved on my tombstone. It's just... Because it's just like, man, did you just channel me? Because it's just so like, he did a college try.
Yeah, he gave it a college try. Like, at least he tried.
Yeah.
So gloom.
Yeah, it's just like, well, what, did you just make one movie? No, I had a couple with Smith and by myself, Morrissey.
Yeah, they were okay.
Yeah.
They were an okay album. Another cool thing to check out with him is his interviews with Russell Brand.
Yeah, because supposedly that is one of his friends.
One of his homies, because Morrissey did purchase, was it one of Frank Sinatra? No, it was Clark Gable's. It was Clark Gable's home in Hollywood.
Okay.
Morrissey owns that, and he's really good friends with Nancy Sinatra. I think she passed away.
My boots are made for walking?
Yeah, that's like his homie.
Really?
Yeah, so there's this, The Importance of Being Morrissey documentary is on YouTube, so check it out.
Okay.
But he kind of exiled himself from England and moved to Hollywood. So he resides in Hollywood, and they follow him around, and there's some great moments of some Morrissey-isms, some Maz-isms. But fast forwarding to like now or within the last 5 years, Russell Brand, being who he is, am I saying his last name right?
Yeah,
so.
Brand.
He got a couple really good interviews, so everybody check that out. And what I liked, there was a story of Russell Brand, Maz, and Liam Gallagher. They all went out. Was it Liam or Noel?
Oh.
Noel. Which one's the guitarist? I always forget.
I don't know.
All right. I think it's...
Oh, yeah, because the Gallagher's fucking... Oh, sorry, my bad. They freaking love reading like interviews of Morrissey and that. And then when Morrissey comments on the Gallagher's, they're all right.
Yeah.
like
he's friends with them too.
Yeah, like the thing is just like he even had a comment, Stevie Wonder.
Is that what Morrissey said about Stevie Wonder? Here's another good thing too, talking about people he offended that are like really popular or important to pop culture. Is I've mentioned it on the podcast before. He just totally dropped off the David Bowie tour. Like he's like, I don't know, I just didn't appreciate his whatever.
Was it kind of like Rick James and what Rick James and Prince, where it's like you're not going to overshow me with my...
There was probably an ego thing there. Like it's on that Importance of Being Morrissey documentary, but like,
does it follow him?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But it's during that tour, so Bowie comes out either Morrissey comes out or Bowie comes out and joins them on stage, and then Morrissey left halfway through the tour. Like Morrissey was the opening act. He's like, I just didn't really particularly care for the whole I'm David Bowie thing. He's like, I'm totally over that shit. So he left. He's purposely like blackballing himself from the biggest artist ever. Like it's David Bowie, dude. And that just shows you like either something's wrong up here a little bit, like mood-wise.
He gives zero shits.
He just gives zeros.
He just gives zeros.
I mean, when you're just like,
Yeah, I mean, supposedly on like of giving nothing, of and him saying like he's still like, oh, this is kind of like not, it's positive, but it's just like because of what he is. But they said at one time he was like the second greatest living British act of performers.
Only the second greatest?
Yeah.
Who was the first? Who knows?
I think he might have been
was it Bowie?
He might have been before Paul McCartney. I'm like, oh yeah.
Damn. That's a zinger. What else were you telling me too about his head size?
I don't know. That could have just been myth.
Well, let's go to that myth.
I mean, the myth was supposedly that when his mom was pregnant and she was giving birth, the myth that like it was like his size of the head was bigger than average, so it kind of hood. I'm like, damn.
Or did it like his head was too big, so it made him kind of like a depressed, sad guy all the time?
No, the thing is putting the mom at
risk,
and then also I read, and this was on Wikipedia about what I'm gonna just say next. Is supposedly during the time when he was being brought up around the town, there was like a killer on the loose and supposedly killing kids. So it's just like, I'm going to be chill just at home.
Yeah, Suffer Little Children is a song about that on the first Smith records. But yeah, there was a killer on the loose. I think it was like a husband and wife, or it was a female serial killer kind of thing, which is kind of odd. And one of the Smith singles has her on it, which was weird. And of course he caught a lot of shit for that. But yeah, that's some weird stuff with his head. I know he always had like a really good close relationship with his mother that I've read, like very, very close. There's like one picture of him or of them together.
Yeah.
And then his dad, he's very, very private about his dad. And there's this book that I was reading, and when the Smiths first started, I guess, he's Irish. He's like first generation English.
Yeah, that's another thing that he felt like the xenophobia too.
Yeah, absolutely. But him and everybody else in the Smiths are first generation English. Am I saying that right? But all their parents were from Ireland.
Okay.
Like Morrissey's parents were from Ireland. So then they moved over to Manchester because of the jobs or whatever. But back to his dad, I don't know how true this is either. It's just speculation. But like when they were performing, when they were getting bigger, his dad would show up liquored up, drunk at the shows, and he would hit on all the girls. And Maz didn't like that. So he's like, Dad, beat feet.
Oh, I mean, especially like if they were separated.
That's embarrassing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if my dad was divorced and he's hitting on ladies, I'd be like, divorced. You cheeky man, you go get those numbers. But if they was married, it's just like, oh.
Yeah, I don't know Morrissey's parents' background as far as like marital status, but I know his dad was seen at certain clubs when they were performing, like being drunk, hitting on the ladies.
Okay, this seems kind of like a myth or like a tall legend. This is from like, I think, Study Breaks. I put male on it because I don't know if it's how factual. Is that he was a sports journalist, no, music journalist, and supposedly he was like doing interviews in that when they was trying to find like the singer for the Clash. So they said like, oh well, he could have been a singer for the Clash.
Yes, that is true. That is true. What he would do is he would write a lot of hate mail and bitch to a certain magazine, and then he would actually write articles.
Complain about the magazine? I was saying, like, why are you having this sucky band?
No, yeah, pretty much. Like, this band sucks. Like, and ironically, he loved the New York Dolls so much. Like, they were trying to pump up the not dead Kennedys. I'm sorry.
The punk scene?
Yeah, the punk scene. I'm just drawing a blank, but he's like, nothing is comparable to the New York Dolls. So this particular owner of the magazine lost his shit when he figured out that's the guy, that's the troll. That guy singing for the Smiths is the troll. That's him. And like, yes, he's like, I told you, because like the guy sent some like shitty things back to him. Like, hey, if you don't like anything, you don't like any of these artists in the area, why don't you start your own band? So of course, Morrissey being Morrissey, when he got to that level, then he like, here I am, and the guy's like, oh God, it's you. You're that guy.
Then my joke would be later on, he listened to the music and then he went on stage and hugged him.
And then he hugged him and got an article of clothing. But Ed, thank you for that good little section of content in your research. It was really good. Now I want to go into a little segment where I get on my soapbox a little bit. I haven't done this in a while, and it's called Don't Like What You Like. And here we go. And Ed, I want to know how you feel about this too. With podcasting, it's dime a dozen for sure. I'm nothing special, musically meditated. Like there's all different avenues for content, and it's great. However, about a month ago, Apple sent every podcaster a little email, and they slapped everyone on the wrist. They had all kinds of little rules, but what it all came down to was how people were using their podcast titles as clickbait. And I don't like that shit, man. Like, so here we are talking about Morrissey, But when that Michael Jackson documentary came out, as just an example, right?
Yeah.
We use that because we know that's popular right now. So when you're streaming through what podcast to check out, you're going to click on, whatever the hot
so
topic
did you even
is.
talk 10 minutes about Michael Jackson?
I did on somebody else's podcast. We'll go back there.
Okay.
But I'm not taking shots at that. I'm just saying, just using that as an example, maybe a bad example, but just you doing your research saying this is the trend right now in society, and we use that as the title for the podcast.
Oh, God, I hate that.
So
Yeah.
people, that's the clickbait shit I'm talking about.
Oh, as a YouTube fan, too, where you see stuff where it's just like, hey, look at this, what happened? And then you're like, nope, they're still nope, they're still not talking. Oh, you lied to me. You lied to me.
You lied to me. And that's, I don't know if we kind of did that with the Morrissey, like we were trying to focus on the positive here and we kind of went all over.
Because, I'm sorry for getting off tangents of positive things, but
it is what it is.
I mean, the thing is, because he's very ego, but then still sensitive at the same time, so you just focus on he loves his animals. And then the thing is, he does appreciate the fans.
Yeah.
Oh, and then I forgot to say this random fact is that I don't know if I said this, is that it still humbles him. That he said he's not humbled. It takes his breath away when he's riding a car and he hears his music on the radio. I'm like, oh my God.
Right.
Yeah, because I'm like, damn, that's a lot of humility still from this day. Just still feeling that humility instead of like, no, I'm entitled. I'm entitled for you to hear.
He has his moments where his ego's out of control, but those kind of things, you're right.
Don't come at him with a hamburger in your mouth.
No, please don't. Or a piece of steak. You might get kicked out. You might get kicked out of his area. Get away from me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that podcast clickbait, don't like what you like. I don't like that shit. I think it's shitty to the listener, especially
both the picture and the line of dialogue.
Yes.
Because when you say like a line of dialogue, like, yeah, but then you look at the picture, I'm like, hey, that's cool. But then you listen to it, it's like, well, that was not even mentioned.
That wasn't even mentioned.
Wasn't even mentioned.
Wasn't even mentioned at all. Like, I'm not going to, I don't know, ever do that to you guys.
Okay,
to my
good.
listeners. So just know. And that
why?
Shit's not
Because
cool.
Joe's got standards.
I got standards. I do. High standards. So shit on you, shitty podcasters, for doing that.
Oh, God.
It's just like that popularity race or something. It's annoying. A lot of crabs in the
I call it false attention getters too.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't need that, right, Ed?
Yeah.
We don't need that.
Please stop doing that.
Yeah,
like,
just I don't want my shit to have to like get looked at like under the microscope because they didn't want numbers. They were asking that to have numbers in the title.
And then they did that to everybody. And then the thing is, when you start doing that, then you make potential distrust with your audience.
Yes.
And then maybe in general with the podcast world.
With the podcast world, because now people aren't going to take the art, which it is an art. I'm using that lightly, but it is. It's spoken word. It's like public speaking. But you're kind of putting a damper on the art form itself if you're lying about the title of your show just to get people to look at it. Yeah. It's garbage, It's like where social media could kind of hurt podcasting, right? And
also this is supposedly podcasting was good because of the whole compared to radios, we could listen any time and we listen to stuff like we want to. Hey, I want to listen to something about Morrissey. Right. I want to listen to Dr. Dre.
Right.
Instead of like, oh, I want to hear something about Trump again. No, I want to hear something focused about like the essence of Dr. Dre or
the essence of Morrissey or
Slipknot or something.
Slipknot, yeah. Shout out to the Slipknot
or maybe quality care of how to keep records in good condition.
Thank you, Ed. That's a good idea. I'm gonna have to bring a vinyl guy on.
Okay,
cool. Now I want to move on to. We didn't receive any hate mail. It's been a while.
Have you?
Yeah, oh yeah. We had a segment on the show for a long time where we just read the hate mail that we received. Oh, there were some elite metalheads kind of hating on the Slipknot episode, but I didn't write those out because they really weren't that great.
Are we saying it kind of came off as like fake and just broken English again?
Yeah, but just like like Slipknot, like a steady eye roll, like ooh, like they suck, or like. I mean, what do you know about metal? You're talking about commercial Slipknot from 20 years ago.
Would that be almost like saying about like, rap, and then you say Cardi B?
I like Cardi B.
I mean, is that be like the same thing?
Yeah, you got a point there.
Okay,
for sure. But So we didn't receive any hate mail this week. There was a few things, but I'm not going to.
You might today because of me,
right?
So
who is that guy? No, Ed, you're doing just fine. But we did receive a lot of love and a lot of positivity. So I'm going to end it on that. And a little shout out section here. So our numbers are growing. I did put a post on the Instagram like, hey, thank you. I'm not going to sit here and talk about numbers and specifics. It's kind of like, to me, I think that's kind of just It's like the dude at the bar talking about how much money he makes a year.
While smoking a cigarette?
Yeah, right? I'm not going to do that right now. But
I got in 20,000 in one day.
Yeah, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
What are you,
right. Two? But I will say this. I do appreciate all the listeners. I do appreciate all your downloads. And what's really exciting, too, is there are new people, I could tell, like from the analytics, that are going back and listening to the old episodes. So please, like, go back and listen to the old episodes. And if you're a Morrissey fan listening to this for the first time, I probably should have said this in the beginning, but I have mentioned him a lot and the Smiths. But I think it was episode number 5. It was episode 5. The Queen is Dead was re-released and remastered. Mm-hmm. And I went like on a, I had an episode half about that.
I'm thinking you would.
Yeah. So go back and check that out. But I see a trend in the listener going back, and I'm really appreciative. And the numbers that we had last month for March were the best numbers we've had since we started, since September 2017. Thank you, Ed.
F you, Joe.
Yeah.
F you.
Yeah. So I just want to give a shout out to all the listeners and a shout out to these businesses and people real quick. Hobart Lumber Company with Scott Heller. Thank you, Scott, for you and your family sponsoring the show the last 10 episodes. That was great. Also, Bone Flower Mead with Aaron Shavy. He was on with Scott on the Metal and Mead episode. Everybody check out Bone Flower Mead. It's a honey wine.
Oh, okay. I thought you said Metal and Meat.
Metal and Meat. Yeah.
MEAD, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Metal and Mead. That's a great episode.
That's old school alcohol.
Yeah, it's a honey wine.
Ooh, okay.
A honey wine, yeah. And
okay.
He started his own thing, so Ed, check that episode out.
Okay.
And everybody else.
I'm gonna be one of those tickers that's like, who's listening to this? I'm just gonna be me.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Another shout out to Smuggler's Coffee. That was a great episode. We had Dave on from Smugglers. He's doing a lot of cool shit. We might do a collaborative thing together. So look out for that. But shout out to Smuggler's Coffee. You could buy his stuff. I know at least at Grindhouse in Griffith, his particular coffee. So shout out to him. Another congrats to Matt Abear and his wife. I don't know if it's his girlfriend or his wife, but they just had their first baby. So everybody go and check out that episode. It's been within the last 10. It was just about metal and Matt as a musician coming up, and we've known each other for a long time. So I want to say congratulations to them. Also, congratulations to Parker. They're Chicago-based, South Chicago-based band that I had on here.
Okay.
And they're doing well, and I could see that they're getting traction and playing a lot of different shows. And everybody go back to that episode and check them out because we were playing some of their music. It might be your thing. And they're doing well. And I might do some collaborative stuff with the Parker boys too. And then
AK Joe's thinking.
Joe's thinking for the future. I'm not running out of this yet. Right. Well, yeah, episode number 70 something. I don't know. I don't know what number it is. But then another shout out to Detour North. We had them on. That might have been 6 months ago now, but they're a pop punk band. But I just saw Danny, he shared that they are opening up on the main stage at the Festival of the Lakes this summer in Hammond.
Wow.
So that's really cool. So shout out to those guys, and everybody go back to those episodes. Another quick shout out to Korey Caesar from Chromatic Distortion. He's had me on a couple times on his podcast. I just did a collaborative thing with him. I joined him, and we talked about the Michael Jackson documentary, Leaving Neverland, and the R. Kelly scandal that's going on. So Corey's a great host. He did a great job. He does great research. So everybody go back and check out that episode, all of his episodes, and hit subscribe. And I would also, in the very end here, I'm proud to announce that we're going to have Mike Seatown on the podcast. Mike Seatown is a music lover. I don't want to say he's a music critic because I don't think he would like that, but
connoisseur.
Yeah, music connoisseur. Thank you, Ed. And congrats to him. His YouTube channel just reached 50,000 followers. So Mike has been around for a while. He's always been supportive of Musically Meditated, and we're going to do a cool little phone interview. He has agreed to it, and I'm excited about that. And that should be maybe the episode after this or whatever. So shout out to Mike Seatown. And at the very end, here we go. I haven't done this in a while, but it's a meditate on this segment. And this is a quote from the RZA, and I think it means a lot. And it means a lot to me, right? Right, Ed? You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Happiness is something you get from yourself. If you're completely satisfied with yourself, nobody can take it away from you. Mm-hmm. So, you know, especially with a lot of shit with social media now, there's a lot of hate. There's a lot of arguing. You know, maybe like people
trolling
in general. Like, turn that shit off.
Please be honest. Don't just poke just to start, you know, crap and giggles. Yeah.
Right. You might get smacked. But just at the end of the day, just be happy, man. Like,
yeah.
It's so simple and it's cliche, but, you know, it starts with you first. And think about that this next week. And the following week, we'll have Mike Seatown. And Ed, thanks again for coming on. We're going to have you on again.
Oh, thanks, Joe. And thanks, Spirit Soretin, Green Door Network.
Yeah, Green Door Network. Shout out to the network. And Ed and I are going to do like a movie soundtrack episode, maybe a couple. So Ed, once again, thank you, everybody. Thanks for listening. Morrissey fans unite. I finally got it off my chest. Am I ever going to talk about Morrissey again on Musically Meditated?
Yeah, each album, baby.
Each album, just for the next
one album per episode. I love it so much. Shut up, y'all. It needs it.
It needs it. All right, y'all. Adios. See you next week. I'm Musically Meditated.
That's right.
I'm musically meditated.
That's right.
I'm musically meditated.
Producer my ass over there.